Hello and welcome back to Creative Pet Keeping. My name is Kasia. I am your host. Remember the 20-gallon long that is at the top of my rack now? I wanted to move my female betta sorority, which has all the siblings of a previous spawn that I bred myself. And all of these fish have grown up and stayed together for the past 2.5 years almost. And they're doing pretty well, which usually for female sororities, things usually don't pan out very well. But there's something about raising the siblings together that seems to work a bit better. So I wanted to set up a really nice planted tank for them. And currently they're in a nice planted tank, but it is more of a vertical 20-gallon tall. And it'll be really, really cool to see if the dynamic changes when I move them from one tank to a different tank. I really love to document all the different things that my fish do so that we can observe and learn from it and hopefully become better fish keepers in the process. So what I'm really excited about is I got a lot of different plants from Aquarium Co-op. Now we all know that Aquarium Co-op has really good plants. They also have really good shipping, comes super fast, super awesome. And I got some root tabs because this particular setup is going to be a really simple beginner style setup. It's not gonna require a lot of complicated steps. There's not gonna be a ton of materials involved, and the scape itself is not gonna be too complex. So I hope that this is something that you may potentially be able to recreate yourself if you would like to. With that being said, before I ramble too much, why don't we get started, take a look at the plants that I got as well as the tank, and let's get scaping. So here we are, the blank canvas, the crusty looking tank that I'm going to be reusing and adding more sand into the already current sand. Now the particular sand that I shall be using is the Imaginarian aquatic substrate from Petco and also Spooky Dramatic Lighting. It is not a fancy gravel or sand. It is just sort of the consistency between gravel and sand, which is why I like it. But you don't need any sort of fancy gravels, and especially ones that change the pH of your water, especially when you're starting out, because you want to keep things simple. That's why just simple gravel of choice, and then we're going to be adding the root tabs underneath the roots, and that's it. That's all you need. You don't have to cap it, you don't have to complicate it. Here I am using a very fancy tool to level out the sand. It's called my hand favorite tool in my arsenal. And of course we've got the driftwood that I accidentally buried, and then here we are. It looks like I made zero progress, but we are now ready to go to the next step, and that is adding some water and adding some plants. So things are about to get exciting. Some people, when they plant plants, they like to do so before adding water. Some people will add a little bit of water. I, on the other hand, will add a lot of water. I also added some Fritz Guard water conditioner in here as I'm filling it up. I find it a lot easier to plant plants when the aquarium is almost entirely full. I am also using the Python hose to use my sink to fill up the water. That way, I will have a link down in Amazon in the description below. And also, a tragedy happened while I was filling up the tank because I didn't put a rock on my driftwood and it floated up. Very dramatic. Much sad, but it's okay. We ended up fixing it later on. Here are, on the other hand, the plants. Now they've been in here for a little over 2 weeks at this point. This was like a little 10-gallon holding tank, and I let these plants acclimate to my water because I actually have a different water than Aquarium Co-op does. So I wanted to give my plants a transition period where if they can need to melt or they have to do something, you know, they can just do whatever they need and adjust before I commit to planting them in my tank. And right here, I am just chucking them into the aquarium. Because they have these nice little containers that they're in, I can just place them in the tank, and this visually allows me to see how much space they take up and lets me figure out how I want to plant them. Oftentimes when we plant plants, we don't exactly know, like, are they going to get super big? Are they going to get super wide? So it's like you have to sort of try it out and slowly gain experience over time. My best advice is to get a little bit less plants than you need and give them space. I know that a lot of beautiful scapes that you see on social media have these beautiful, thickly lush setups, and they look like they're completely grown in, like the whole tank is full to the brim. and they're great, and you could totally do that if you want to. But if you are a beginner, first of all, filling up a tank full of aquarium plants can be very expensive. So you might want to start out with less and see how your plants grow. Sometimes some of your plants can propagate and spread throughout the aquarium, and that can save you money. But also, the tighter you plant everything in your aquarium, the more maintenance you're going to have to do, as you very regularly have to trim things all of the time. If you space things out in your aquarium, that means there will be less work for you to have to maintain everything. So if you follow the way I'm doing it right here, this is going to be probably the simplest thing you can possibly do. And sometimes when you're starting off in the hobby particularly, it can be kind of intimidating. So make something super simple. Look at that. I put my rock, held down my driftwood, planted my plants in different areas. I experimented with certain types of plants in areas where it's a little darker versus where it's a little lighter. And now I will be adding all of the bettas from the tank that was below. This is a sibling setup. So these are all fish that grew up together. And then, even though this is predominantly females, I think we do have at least 3 males in here. Now, these are the least aggressive fish that I have from the entire spawn. So as fish would be aggressive, they would get jarred or sold in different places. So these are pretty much the most mellow of the entire group. And that's probably the reason why they've been getting along so far, including the 3 males. Surprisingly, the males don't fight. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to do a long-term experiment where I will keep this group together in a sorority type setup, even though, there's males in here as well, and observe how well they do versus a couple of their siblings that I'm keeping jarred in 1-gallon jars. And I want to see if this sorority type setup will result in fish living longer, healthier lives, or will the fish that are jarred have longer and healthier lives. This is not a legit fish experiment because there's still a lot of factors that I didn't really think about, but I think this will give us a general idea to let us know if sibling sororities have long-term viability or if these fish do better on their own, even if they're siblings. Also, totally forgot, I also added the Easy Green, and I totally forgot to film myself adding the root tabs into the gravel, but I added those as well, and this is what my super simple tank ended up looking like. So thank you for watching my video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you already haven't, so you don't miss out on future videos. Next week, we're gonna go back to updates on the betta spawn, which is really, really exciting because this year we have some really cool betta spawning adventures, and you get to watch the fish grow up from little babies to juveniles, which is really, really exciting. So I hope that you look forward to it. Don't miss out, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!